Psalms 77 to 78, the Lord's reveal from doubt to deliverance, how Jesus invites you into God's family. Psalm 77, to the chief musician, to Jeduthun, a psalm of Asaph. I cried unto God with my voice, even unto God with my voice, and he gave ear unto me. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord. My sore ran in the night, and ceased not. My soul refused to be comforted. I remembered God, and was troubled. I complained, and my spirit was overwhelmed. Selah, thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak. I have considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with mine own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. Will the Lord cast off forever? And will he be favorable no more? Is his mercy clean gone forever? Doth his promise fail forevermore? Hath God forgotten to be gracious? Hath he in anger shut up his tender mercies? Selah. And I said, This is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember thy wonders of old. I will meditate also of all thy work, and talk of thy doings. Thy way, O God, is in the sanctuary. Who is so great a God as our God? Thou art the God that doest wonders. Thou hast declared thy strength among the people. Thou hast with thine arm redeemed thy people, the sons of Jacob and Joseph. Selah. The waters saw thee, O God, the waters saw thee. They were afraid. The depths also were troubled. The clouds poured out water. The skies sent out a sound. Thine arrows also went abroad. The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven. The lightnings lightened the world. The earth trembled and shook. Thy way is in the sea, and thy path in the great waters, and thy footsteps are not known. Thou leddest thy people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron.
Psalm 78, Maskil of Asaph. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, shewing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord, and his strength, and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They kept not the covenant of God, and refused to walk in his law, and forgat his works, and his wonders that he had shewed them. Marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. He divided the sea, and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as an heap. In the daytime also he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. He clave the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink, as out of the great depths. He brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. And they sinned yet more against him, by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted God in their heart, by asking meat for their lust. Yeah, they spake against God. They said, Can God furnish a table in the wilderness?
Behold, he smote the rock, that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Therefore the Lord heard this, and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel, because they believed not in God, and trusted not in his salvation. Though he had commanded the clouds from above, and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them of the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food. He sent the meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitations. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer. Nevertheless, they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Many a time turned he his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passeth away, and cometh not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness, and grieve him in the desert? They turned back and tempted God, and limited the Holy One of Israel.
They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Egypt, and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods, that they could not drink. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham, but made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to this mountain, which his right hand had purchased. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and provoked the Most High God, and kept not his testimonies, but turned back, and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow. For they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When God heard this, he was wroth, and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. He gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance.
The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord awaked as one out of sleep, and like a mighty man that shouteth by reason of wine. And he smote his enemies in the hinder parts. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like high palaces, like the earth which he hath established forever. He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Based on the reading of Psalms 77 and 78, here's a comprehensive summary of their differences, similarities, and how they connect to Christ's invitation to become part of God's family. Key differences. Psalm 77 is a personal lament and crisis of faith. Written from individual perspective, I cried out to God. Expresses deep spiritual doubt and questioning. Moves from despair to remembrance of God's past faithfulness. focuses on God's miraculous deliverance through the Red Sea, ends with confidence in God's shepherding care. Psalm 78 is a corporate historical review, written as communal instruction. My people, hear my teaching. Chronicles Israel's repeated pattern of disobedience despite God's mercy. Emphasizes the importance of remembering and passing on God's works. Covers Israel's entire history from Egypt to David's reign. Ends with God choosing David as shepherd for his people. Profound similarities, both written by Asaph, showing different aspects of worship leadership. Both emphasize remembrance of God's mighty deeds and faithfulness. Both highlight God's shepherding nature, leading his people like a flock.
Both bridge doubt to faith through recalling God's historical faithfulness. Both point to God's redemptive power, particularly through the Exodus. Christ's invitation through these psalms. These psalms beautifully illuminate how Jesus invites us into God's family. From Psalm 77. When we cry out in our darkest moments of doubt, Christ meets us in our questioning. Just as the psalmist moved from, "Will the Lord reject forever?" to remembering God's unfailing love, Jesus invites us to bring our raw honesty to Him and find that He is the answer to our spiritual thirst. He is the living water that quenches our deepest needs. From Psalm 78, despite our repeated failures and forgetfulness, Christ embodies the faithful shepherd that David foreshadowed. While Israel's story shows human unfaithfulness, Jesus shows divine faithfulness. He doesn't abandon us when we fail, but continues to invite us back into covenant relationship. How these psalms reflect God's invitation to family. Accessibility. Both psalms show that God welcomes honest struggle, whether personal crisis, Psalm 77, or corporate failure, Psalm 78. Remembrance as invitation. God invites us to remember His faithfulness not as distant history, but as personal experience that shapes our identity as His children. Shepherd imagery. Both psalms culminate in God's tender care as a shepherd. Jesus fulfills this as the good shepherd who lays down His life for His sheep and invites us into His flock. From generation to generation, Psalm 78's emphasis on passing faith to children shows God's heart for building multi-generational family faith. Mercy despite failure. The pattern in Psalm 78 of sin judgment, repentance, restoration shows God's relentless love that ultimately culminates in Christ's once-for-all redemption. The ultimate invitation. These psalms prepare us for Jesus' invitation. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. Matthew 11 verse 28.
Whether we're in personal crisis like Psalm 77 or acknowledging our corporate brokenness like Psalm 78, Jesus invites us not just to know about God's faithfulness, but to become part of God's family, adopted as beloved children through His perfect shepherd care on the cross. When doubt meets divine memory. How Psalms 77 and 78 invite us into God's family. Finding your way back to faith through ancient songs of struggle and remembrance. There's a moment every believer faces, that midnight of the soul when God feels impossibly distant, when prayers echo back empty, when the promises you've built your life on seem to crumble like dry leaves. If you're there now, you're in good company. The Psalms have always been God's gift to the spiritually desperate, but two consecutive songs, Psalms 77 and 78, offers something remarkable, a blueprint for finding your way back to faith and ultimately finding your place in God's family. Written by the same worship leader, Asaph, these psalms are like two sides of the same coin, showing us both the personal and corporate journey from doubt to divine embrace. The dark night of personal faith, Psalm 77. Picture Asaph, sleepless, stretching out untiring hands in the darkness. He's doing everything right, crying out to God, remembering to pray, seeking comfort, but finding none. The spiritual practices that once sustained him now feel hollow. Will the Lord reject forever? Has His unfailing love vanished forever? These aren't polite Sunday school questions. These are the raw, honest doubts that emerge when faith meets harsh reality. Asaph isn't just questioning God's methods. He's questioning God's very nature. But then something shifts. Instead of demanding God appear in his present darkness, Asaph turns backward. He begins remembering, really remembering, who God has been, the Red Sea parting, the thunder and lightning of divine presence, the shepherd care that guided his ancestors through impossible circumstances.
This isn't mere nostalgia. This is the sacred practice of divine remembrance, and it becomes the bridge from despair to hope. The corporate memory of failure, Psalm 78. Just one psalm later, the camera pulls back from individual struggle to reveal the sweeping saga of an entire people. If Psalm 77 is a personal journal entry, Psalm 78 is the documentary film. Asaph recounts Israel's shocking spiritual amnesia. God splits seas, rains bread from heaven, provides water from rocks, and his people respond with grumbling, idolatry, and rebellion. The pattern is almost comical in its repetition. God provides, people forget, they sin, judgment comes, they repent, God forgives, they forget again. Yet threaded through this depressing cycle is something beautiful, God's relentless mercy. Despite knowing exactly how the story will end each time, God keeps showing up, keep providing, keep forgiving. The psalm culminates not in Israel's faithfulness, but in God's choice of David, a flawed shepherd who becomes the channel through which God finally establishes lasting leadership for his people. Where these psalms meet Christ, here's where these ancient songs become urgently relevant. They perfectly prepare us for Jesus' stunning invitation. When Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," Matthew 11 verse 28, he's speaking directly to the Asaphs of Psalm 77, the sleepless, the doubting, the ones whose prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. When he declares, "I am the good shepherd," John 10 verse 11, he's fulfilling the longing that ends both psalms. David was a good shepherd, but just a foreshadow. Jesus is the ultimate shepherd who doesn't just lead us through wilderness. He goes through death itself to bring us home. The invitation to family. But these psalms reveal something even more intimate than individual salvation. They show us how God invites us into family.
In your personal crisis, Psalm 77, your honest doubt, doesn't disqualify you from God's family. It actually becomes the entry point. The psalmist doesn't clean himself up before approaching God. He comes exactly as he is, confused, hurting, questioning. Jesus welcomes the same raw honesty. In your repeated failures, Psalm 78, the cyclical story of Israel's unfaithfulness, isn't meant to depress us. It's meant to show us that God's family isn't for the perfect. It's for the perpetually forgetful who keep finding their way back. Jesus establishes a new covenant that breaks this cycle not through our improved behavior, but through his perfect faithfulness, the sacred practice of remembrance. Both psalms hinge on the same spiritual discipline, remembering God's faithfulness, not as distant history, but as personal reality that shapes identity. This isn't just biblical advice, it's neurological wisdom. Modern psychology confirms that how we frame our past directly impacts our present resilience. When we remember God's faithfulness, we're not living in the past. We're building a bridge to hope. Your invitation today, whether you're in your Psalm 77 moment, personal crisis, spiritual dryness, honest doubt, or your Psalm 78 reality, recognizing patterns of failure, corporate brokenness, generational cycles, Jesus extends the same invitation. Become part of my family. Not when you get your act together. Not when your doubt resolves. Not when you break that persistent cycle. Now, as you are, in your sleeplessness, in your forgetfulness, in your failure, the same God who parted seas and guided sheep-like people through wilderness now invites you to call him Father. The same shepherd care that sustained Asaph through his dark night now carries you into eternal daylight. Your doubt doesn't scare him. Your patterns don't surprise him. Your honest questions don't offend him. He simply asks you to remember and then come home. What's your Psalm 77 moment right now? Or your Psalm 78 pattern?
How might Jesus be inviting you to bring that honestly into his family? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. A prayer of invitation. from the bridge that Psalm 77 and 78 build into the family of God. Jesus, right now I bring you the sleepless night that won't end, the questions that feel too disrespectful to say out loud, the history I keep repeating no matter how hard I try to stop. I remember, not to romanticize the past, but because remembering is how I find a door back to hope. I remember seas that split when there was no other way through. I remember water from rocks when thirst felt fatal. I remember mercy that outran stubborn hearts again and again and again. So I come exactly as I am, doubt dressed as faith, failure wearing yesterday's regrets, a sheep who's wandered, a child who's forgotten your voice. Good shepherd, speak my name louder than my accusations against myself. Stretch out your right hand, the one scarred by the cost of keeping me, and lead me home. I accept your invitation. Make me part of your family, not when I get better, but right here in the mess, right now in the dark, right beside the Red Sea I can't cross alone. Father, I'm yours. Hold me, guide me, feed me, forgive me, until the day doubt dies in the daylight of your face. Amen. Pushpin our closing comments to our precious viewers. Drop a line raising hands if one of these psalms felt written for you today. Which section of these psalms resonated with you the best, 77 or 78? Tell us below, and we'll pin the best story. Smash subscribe so YouTube sends you the next Bible breakdown before the algorithm blesses everyone else. Love you, family, and may God richly bless you all. See you in the comments until next time.